Now, to continue with my previous discussion, so this will be the part two of the urinary system. So we have here the topics for the ureters, urinary bladder, as well as the urethra. Now, when it comes to the ureters, these are actually muscular tubes na responsible for the transportation of urine from the kidneys to the urinary bladder. Kahit um, simple lang when it comes to this one, highly coordinated yung mga movement nila dahil ang smooth muscle sa kanilang walls nito, yung mga ureters, ay regular na nagge-generate ng mga peristaltic waves. So these waves will gently push yung urine downward into the bladder. So it ensures a continuous flow regardless of the animal's position or activity, whether the animal is lying or is standing. Okay, ganun pa din siya is because of those smooth muscles, mainly for the peristaltic wave. So, each ureter begins at the renal pelvis or sa mga cattle natin, it is the major calyces. Okay, then it will travels caudally, okay, to enter the urinary bladder near its neck, which is what is specifically at the trigone. So ang entrance nila sa bladder ay oblique. Okay, meaning pahilis yung pasok nito. So this oblique pathway acts like a natural na valve para ma-prevent yung urine from flowing backward or yung pagbabackflow ng urine into the kidneys once the bladder starts filling it. Okay? So this under-reflux mechanism, this is very important para maiwasan yung hydronephrosis and ascending infections. Hydronephrosis, that is hydro, tapos nephro, nephrosis. Okay? And mga possible na infections. So that is for the ureter. Now we proceed with the urinary bladder. So this is a hollow, muscular, highly distensible organ that serves as a temporary reservoir for the urine. So ang size at exact position nito, it can vary depende kung this is an empty or this is full. Okay? So when the urinary bladder is empty, okay, this is thick-walled. Okay, magiging thick yung wall niya, magiging muscular, and it will sit compactly on the floor of the pelvic cavity. Pero habang napupuno ito, yung walls ng urinary bladder, it will stretch and thin out. Okay, magiging thin na siya. From thick kanina, magiging thin na kasi it will allow the bladder to expand cranially hanggang sa umabot pa ito sa abdominal cavity. Okay? So at the caudal end of the bladder is the neck, which becomes continuous with the urethra. So the bladder wall is composed of three layers of smooth muscle fibers, and although these layers converge toward the neck, whether they form a true smooth muscle sphincter, it is still until now it is being talked with veterinary anatomy. Okay, so despite this, yung neck area it is still contributes to control of urine flow into the urethra. Okay, so we have here the three layers. First one is yung mucosa. So this, ito yung pinaka innermost layer. Okay, yung mucosa mismo. So ito yung it is lined with transitional epithelium or what we call as the urothelium. So this is an specialized epithelium na kayang mag-stretch ng malaki kapag napupuno yung bladder at bumabalik naman sa dati kapag na-empty siya. So sa ilalim ng epithelium, there is what we call as the lamina propria. Okay? Etong lamina propria, um, this is full of elastic tissue. para tumulong din siya sa stretching capacity ng bladder. So ang mucosa, ang pinakaunang parang kumokontak sa urine and nagsisilbing protective barrier laban sa mga toxic substances at bacteria. Okay? So that is for the mucosa. Next one, nasa gitna, we have the muscular layer or the detrusor muscle. So ito na siya, yung detrusor muscle. So it is comprised of three layers of its smooth muscle steel. We have the inner longitudinal, the middle circular, at saka yung outer longitudinal. So although minsan hindi masyadong distinct ang mga layers na ito, okay, functional pa rin naman ang arrangement na ito. So ang detrusor muscle, siya yung responsible sa pag-contract ng bladder tuwing merong urination. Okay? Para mailabas yung ihi. Pero kapag relax naman ito, pwedeng mag-expand ang bladder at mag-store ng malaking volume ng urine nang hindi agad tumataas yung kanyang pressure. Then next one, we have the serosa or adventitia. So, eto na yung pinaka-outermost layer. So, depende sa part ng bladder. Ang outer covering ay pwedeng maging serosa or the visceral peritoneum sa superior surface or adventitia. This is already a connective tissue layer sa other parts of the um, urinary bladder. So, ang serosa or adventitia, siya yung nagbibigay ngayon ng structural support at nag-a-anchor ng urinary bladder sa surrounding pelvic structures para hindi ito gumalaw ng sobra habang nagfi-fill at nag-empty siya. So that is the function of the serosa or adventitia. Next, so the urethra naman, it begins at the bladder, neck, and extends caudally. So sa mga female animals, the pelvic portion of the urethra, it runs along the floor of the pelvic canal and it opens into the vaginal vestibule. Sa mga lalaki naman, the pelvic urethra serves not only as part of the urinary tract but also as a conduit for the reproductive system because it receives the ductus deferens, okay, and the ductus or the ducts of accessory glands or accessory sex glands, and then before continuing it into the penis as the penile urethra. So regardless of the sex, the pelvic urethra is encircled by a true voluntary sphincter known as the musculus urethralis or M. urethralis, which is composed of striated skeletal muscle. So this sphincter, it allows the animals to consciously control yung urination. Okay? So it is innervated by the pudendal nerve which supplies the somatic motor input. Now, all these structures, the renal pelvis, the ureters, the urinary bladder, as well as the urethra, they are all lined with what we call as transitional epithelium. So, ano tong transitional epithelium? This is a specialized or a special type of epithelium designed to tolerate yung repeated na stretching. So, kapag empty ang organs, the lumen is small. And what will happen to the wall? It will become thick. And then ang epithelial cells, piling-pili at maraming layers. But when the organs become distended, yung walls nila, it will become thin. So it will thin out. The lumen will widen and the epithelium transitions to fewer layers while still providing protection. So sa distal end ng urethra, however, the transitional epithelium shifts to stratified squamous epithelium, especially near the external urethral orifice. So either at the tip of the penis in males or where the urethra meets the vestibule in female. So etong transition na to, this is very important because the external opening is more exposed and needs a tougher and more protective na epithelial lining. Ngayon, pag-usapan naman natin ang physiology ng micturition or what we call as yung process ng urination. Okay? So, first one, continuous urine formation in the kidneys. So, first of all, tuloy-tuloy yung paggawa ng urine sa kidneys. So, the nephrons, which is the structural unit of the kidneys or the urinary system, they are filtering the blood now. They will produce some filtrates and eventually form a urine. So this urine flows down the ureters konti-konti pero dire-diretso papunta sa urinary bladder. Okay, now, if that's the case, meron na tayong nabuo na urine. So ang mangyayari ngayon dito, there is a filling phase. So the bladder relaxes kasi storage mode na yung bladder. So habang pumapasok ngayon yung urine sa bladder, the bladder begins now to stretch. Pero hindi agad tayo naiihi. Okay? Hindi dahil nag-stretch na siya, okay, nag-stretch na yung bladder, agad-agad na tayong iihi. Hindi. Because, number one, the detrusor muscle, okay, yung smooth muscle of the bladder wall, stays relaxed. Naka-relax lang siya. Another one, the internal sphincter, eto, remains na contracted din to. Also, contracted din yung external urethral sphincter or the musculus urethralis. Contracted din siya voluntarily. So this keeps now the bladder na nag-i-store pa lang siya, nag-fill in pa lang siya ng ihi. So kahit dumadami na ang urine, okay, ito yung pinaka-unique when it comes to the bladder, kaya niyang, may kakayahan yung bladder, okay, yung bladder muscle, na mag-relax para mag-accommodate ng volume without increasing a pressure too much. So yun yung ginagawa ng mga muscles na ito. Now, as the bladder reaches a certain level of distension, so the stretch receptors in the bladder will get activated. Okay? So these receptors now are sensitive to the degree of stretching, meaning mas puno, mas malakas ngayon yung activation. So that is number three. Then number four, pag na-activate na ang stretch receptors, they will send now an afferent sensory signals papunta doon sa sacral micturition centers sa spinal cord. Okay? Kadalasan nasa sa sacral region na to. So dito na nagsisimula yung micturition reflex arc. So kapag na-trigger na ang micturition reflex, yung spinal cord ngayon, magsesend siya ng parasympathetic efferent signals papunta doon sa urinary bladder. Now, anong ginagawa ng mga parasympathetic nerves? Number one, i-contract na nila ngayon yung detrusor muscle. Then another also, i-relax nila yung smooth muscle sphincter in the bladder neck. So that is the internal sphincter already. So ito na dapat ang magsisimula ng paglabas ng urine. So ngayon, dito ngayon papasok, so after this reflex response by the parasympathetic nerves, dito na ngayon papasok ang conscious control. So, pwede ito na yung time na parang there is an instance na pwede nating pigilan yung ihi or gusto na nating pumunta sa CR. Okay? So, there are two possible scenarios when it comes to this one. The brain can either allow the animal to urinate or hold it. Okay? I-override niya ngayon yung reflex. So, paano natin kinokontrol? So, by contracting the external urethral sphincter or the musculus urethralis, which is a skeletal muscle. So, because ano ba ang skeletal muscle? It is voluntary. So, it's because of this one, since skeletal muscle ito, yung musculus urethralis, Okay? Because it is voluntary, we can prevent. Okay? We can prevent the urine from escaping even if the bladder reflex is active. So yun na yung nangyayari, like yung sobrang pagpipigil natin ng ihi, it's because of the skeletal muscle, specifically the musculus urethralis or the external urethral sphincter. So yun na, yung conscious control from the brain. Now, kapag appropriate na ang time and place, so eto na siya, when the animal decides to urinate, the brain ngayon will signal the musculus urethralis to relax. Sige, magre-relax na dapat. Kasi hindi na kaya ng pantog natin yung ihi na naka-store sa kanya. So once this muscle or this external sphincter relaxes, there are possible scenarios for this one. Number one, stronger ngayon yung contraction ng detrusor muscle. That is number one. Number two, magre-relax ngayon also yung internal sphincter. And the pressure in the urinary bladder increases. Mag-i-increase na yan kasi talagang pupunta na yung ihi. And the urine flows through the urethra and out of the body. Ito na yung actual na micturition event. So habang lumalabas ngayon ang urine, ano naman yung magiging scenario? That would be the number 8, the last portion of the micturition process. So habang lumalabas yung urine, so the detrusor muscle continues to contract pa din. Okay, magko-contract pa din siya. And then the pressure, since naiihi mo na siya, okay, na-empty na yung bladder, gradual ngayon yung decrease habang nauubos yung laman ng bladder. So once it is empty, the detrusor muscle relaxes again. And the sphincters return to their contracted state. Magiging contracted na naman sila. And the cycle will continue or will be repeated. So the bladder will reset it into storage mode again. So yun yung process natin when it comes to micturition. Now, another topic is the glomerular filtration. So, when it comes to the glomerular filtration, this is the very first step in the urine formation. At dito nangyayari yung paglabas ng fluid from the blood papunta sa urinary system. Okay, basically, yung glomerular filtrate na tinatawag natin, siya yung fluid na galing sa blood plasma sa loob ng glomerulus na tumatawid papunta sa urinary space of Bowman's capsule para itong ultra-filtered version ng plasma. Now, para makatawid ang filtrate, kailangan niyang dumaan sa tatlo na physical barriers. First one, ito yung tinatawag natin na capillary endothelium. So ano yung capillary endothelium? Okay, ng glomerulus. This layer is fenestrated. Ibig sabihin, may mga malalaking pores na meron siya. Kaya highly permeable siya. So yun yung fenestrated. Another one, second na layer or barrier is the inner layer of the Bowman's capsule. So which is composed of the cells which is called as the podocytes. And then pangatlo, yung glomerular basement membrane na nasa pagitan ng dalawa. So ang podocytes may mga foot processes na nakapatong sa basement membrane. Pero may mga slit-like um, pores pa din sa pagitan ng extensions nila. Kaya kahit multiple layers, yung filtration barrier, very permeable pa rin siya para sa small molecules. So kung iisipin mo, parang sieve or salaan yung filtration barrier. Kaya kaya nitong pass-through ng kahit anong substance hanggang sa around 65,000 molecular weight. So, lahat ng small molecules, this include the glucose, amino acids, the urea, creatinine, electrolytes like yung mga sodium, potassium, chloride, bicarbonate, lahat yan halos same concentration sa filtrate as in plasma. Okay? Pero mga blood cells, hindi sila kasya sa mga pores, kaya hindi sila lumalabas. Kahit plasma protein, sobrang konting percentage lang ang nakakadaan because they are too large or negatively charged. So, ibig sabihin, when it comes to this one, eto lang, ang filtration lang for the glomerulus, eto lang yung kayang dumaan. Other than that one, hindi na sila pwedeng makadaan doon. Kaya yung mga proteins natin. Now, kapag may damage sa glomerulus, nagiging leaky yung barrier kaya nagkakaroon ng proteinuria, meaning excess protein sa urine. Kapag severe naman, pati dugo na makakalusot kaya nagkakaroon ng hematuria. Kaya maraming glomerular diseases, ang unang sign ay proteinuria or hematuria dahil doon mo agad nakikita na hindi na tight yung barrier. Now, pagdating naman sa forces, controlling filtration, pareho lang sila sa Starling forces na ginagamit natin sa capillaries. Okay? So ang uh, effective filtration pressure, this is the difference between the blood hydrostatic pressure sa glomerular capillaries and the osmotic pressure na gawa ng plasma proteins. Naturally, mataas ang hydrostatic pressure na ginagawa ng plasma proteins. Okay? So, natural yan na mataas yung hydrostatic pressure doon sa glomerulus. Kaya tuloy-tuloy yung paglabas ng fluid papunta sa Bowman's capsule. Pero kapag tumaas ang pressure sa urinary space, halimbawa, there is a blockage sa urinary tract, or kapag tumaas ang protein sa filtrate, pwedeng maapektuhan yung filtration. So isang napaka-importanting concept with this one is yung tinatawag natin na renal autoregulation. Kahit nag-fluctuate ang blood pressure mo ng kaunti, okay, nananatiling stable pa din ang GFR, okay, or the filtration rate ng glomerulus. Okay? So in that case, nananatiling stable yung GFR at saka yung renal blood flow is in a normally hydrated na animal. So ang GFR, ano ba tong GFR? Ito yung bilis or rate kung gaano karaming fluid ang nafi-filter ng kidneys, especially yung glomerulus per minute to. So ito yung pinaka-importanting indicator kung gaano kaganda yung function ng kidneys. So paano siya nangyayari? So inside the kidney, merong glomerulus. So parang bundle ng maliliit na blood vessels or yung mga capillaries natin. So dito unang dumadaan ang dugo para ma-filter. So ang GFR, ang measurement kung gaano karaming filtrate ang nabubuo kada minuto. So kapag mataas ang GFR, syempre, maganda yung kidney function. Mabilis mag-filter ng waste products. Pero pag mababa ang GFR, mahina ngayon yung kidney function. So there is a problem with the filtration. Now, dahil may intrinsic mechanisms ang kidney para mag-adjust, like changing the diameter of afferent and afferent arterioles. Pero kapag sobrang baba na ng blood pressure, like for example, there is a severe dehydration or there is a severe blood loss, okay? Lumalampas ngayon ito kaya pang-irregulate, okay? I-auto-regulate. So, ang nangyayari, nagva-vasoconstrict ang afferent arterioles dahil sa sympathetic stimulation at dahil sa vasoconstrictors tulad ng angiotensin 2. So kapag masyadong nag-constrict ang preglomerular vessels, bumaba ba ngayon ng sobra ang GFR to the point na pwedeng magresulta sa pre-renal renal failure. So sa normal mammals, ang GFR ay around 3 to 5 ml per kilo per minute, which is about 100 times the urine flow rate. So sa sobrang taas ng filtration, paulit-ulit na nadetoxify ang plasma every few minutes. Kahit na ang urine output mo ay maliit kumpara sa GFR, ang point kasi is rapid filtration and rapid clearance. Kaya kung isang substance ay madaling dumaan sa filtration barrier at hindi ma-reabsorb ng tubules, mabilis talaga itong mailalabas via the urine. Ngayon, pag-usapan naman natin when it comes paano nakakagawa ang kidneys ng urine na mas concentrated o mas dilute kaysa sa plasma at kung paano ano yung role ng loop of Henle at collecting duct sa process nito. Na ang main goal dito class when it comes to this one is ma-maintain yung water balance lalo na kapag nag-iiba-iba ang water intake ng katawan. So in other words, kailangan ng kidneys na maging flexible. Kung kulang sa tubig, dapat makonsentrate ang urine. Kung sobra naman sa tubig, dapat, syempre, madilute. So ang ability ng kidney na gumawa ng hypertonic o hypotonic urine ay nakadepende ngayon sa functional at anatomical features ng loop of Henle at collecting duct. So ang loop of Henle ay this is a U-shaped na structure na merong descending at ascending limbs. So sa descending limb, highly permeable sa water pero hindi sa solutes. Kaya habang bumababa ang filtrate, okay, dumedeposito ngayon ang tubig papunta sa surrounding medullary interstitium at nagiging mas concentrated ngayon ang tubular fluid. Sa ascending limb naman, wala ng water permeability pero may active transport ng mga ions, yung mga sodium, potassium, tsaka mga chloride. Okay, so anong magiging resulta? Nagiging dilute ngayon yung fluid habang umaakyat sa ascending limb. At simultaneously nagko-contribute sa creation ng osmotic gradient sa medulla na this is very critical para sa water absorption sa collecting duct. Now dito papasok ang collecting duct na kung saan highly regulated ang water permeability. So kapag may ADH or antidiuretic hormone, okay, kapag may presence ng ADH, nagiging permeable ang collecting duct sa tubig. Kaya habang dumadaan ang filtrate, na i-reabsorb ang tubig papunta sa medullary interstitium at na-excrete ang hypertonic urine. So, mas concentrated kaysa sa plasma. Sa other part naman, like for example, walang presence ng ADH, so siyempre, magiging impermeable siya. Okay, magiging impermeable sa tubig ang collecting duct. Kaya ang filtrate hindi natutulungan sa water reabsorption at nai-excrete bilang hypotonic urine. Mas dilute kaysa sa plasma. So again, if there is a presence of antidiuretic hormone, the urine would be hypertonic, meaning to say concentrated. Pero kapag walang or there is an absence of the ADH, then there is a hypotonic urine, meaning to say it is diluted. So, pag sinabi natin na diluted, clear yung urine. Pag concentrated naman, eto na yung nagiging yellowish or nagiging dark yellow yung color.